Go to front. No, he died just before the end of the war. She was able to go to his funeral because she was able to get on a troop ship. They were bringing the demobbed people back, and you weren't allowed to travel at that time except for, well, she was bereaved person, and so they let her go to her father's funeral. But certainly couldn't go there. Germans would not have taken exception to that. You could actually get letters through, I think through the Red Cross, was it during the war? For prisoners of war and so on, they could, through Switzerland and the Red Cross, I think some letters came through. With German, I remember getting somebody gave me some envelopes with Hitler stamps on it, and a German, the Reich, the Eagle or whatever it was, on there. And that had come, I think, through the Red Cross, so it had been posted, and with whatever it was, it must have gone to Switzerland and then was sent over. And I got these, and I thought they were great, with my album, to be able to get a wartime stamped thing. I don't know whether they were or they weren't. It would become valuable. I don't know. But, as a boy, I thought they might. They might one day be worth something.
Never know.
Well, I haven't got them now.
Oh well.
I think everything I gave to my flying instructor in Iraq. This boy was very interested in stamp collecting.
Right. Yeah.
I think I gave everything to him, and probably that's where they went.
You never know. They could have been worth millions now.
Well, good luck to him if you found that. I doubt it. No, I suppose they were quite common during the war. You'd think a lot of people, and if the Germans allowed that, I suppose if a prisoner of war, not all the prisoner of war camps are all that terrible. One of my studio masters was he got his degree in the prisoner of war camp. They formed a sort of university. They had enough expertise in the prisoners to do it. It was recognised after the war, and if you behaved yourself, if you tried to escape, they threw everything at you. Mm-hmm. But if you behaved yourself and you were in the ordinary bloke in a prison, and the majority of them, they had no idea of escaping. Mm-hmm. It was only a few heroes that, and most of them got shot.
Yeah, because what was it? It is your duty as a prisoner of war to try and escape.
Yes, I know that was but that was an anachronism. I mean, that was the First World War and so on, going back to the old fuzzy wuzzies in Africa. Yeah. But in fact, I don't think that was the attitude in the Second World War, because they didn't feel shame. They said openly when they came back, they didn't try to hide the fact that the last thing they would ever have done is to try to escape. There was a lot of cynicism with people. I remember the remarks and so on. They were they went far to the left, Socialism, Attlee had a sweeping victory after the war. Churchill couldn't believe it, Well, I won the war. He was kicked out.
Yeah, but from what I hear, Churchill wasn't that popular.
No, he wasn't.
I mean...
As he said, he was the bark, the country was the bite.
Yeah,
I think that was very true.
I mean, I always admired Churchill until I saw that documentary. Miles put that documentary of Lusitania on, and that's when I was disgusted. Documentary of the sinking of the Lusitania.
Yeah.
Because Churchill was head of the Admiralty at the time.
Oh yeah, and he knew.
And he knew.
Yeah.
And his attitude was, well, if a few Americans get killed, then it might be a good thing.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I never heard that one.
Yeah.
But he knew what was on there, and that it was...
He knew what was on there, and he deliberately made sure that there was not a military escort.
Oh, that's right, because he wanted to bring the Americans into the war. Yeah, that was terrible, yes.
Yeah.
But then he also said turn the guns on the miners when they struck in the 30s. And the miners never forgot that. When he died, they would not attend officially. They were invited to represent the miners because they were a very big union at that time, very powerful. and they wouldn't come. Because of that, they never, to this day, they weren't forgotten that. Turn the guns on the miners.
Never knew about that, but when I saw that thing.
Grandparents.
Yes. Before the war, I went over with my mother. I was about 5 or something. I don't remember when. I mean, I wouldn't have known what my age was, but I remember going to France. I remember the dog, my aunt.
The dog?
And my grandmother didn't seem awfully fond of me. She was very, well, not a very soft person. Apparently what I said was very rude, and she spoke enough English to know. I don't know, of course I don't remember this, but I was sitting on my mother's lap, and she said something, it was too big for that. And I turned around and said, mind your own business. They never forgot that. That is a thing
But
that has
children,
rattled down through the ages in the family.
Children will be children.
Yeah.
They do say things.
Yes.
My great niece, she was only about 3 years old. My mum took her on a bus once, and there was a rather large woman sat on the seat. And Madison just looked at her and said, "You're fat." Mother was mortified. You can't say that.
Yes.
Carry on. Carry on. And you went over to France. Do you remember anything else? Did you meet any more family?
My cousin Denise was about 9 years older than me, and she was a very keen little canoe on the canal, and she wanted to take me out. I made up a big fuss, wanted to go with her. My mother wouldn't let, quite rightly. And she went out of this canoe and turned it upside down and swam back. And it was a very cold day. And her mother had to take some of her clothes off because little Denise was freezing. Cold, grey, miserable day.
Yeah.
But I do remember the canoe, and I do remember her falling in because that was great fun to see it go. But of course, there was all the fuss on the bank and so on. She was a very good swimmer. There was no difficulty. But if I'd been in there, it might have been a different matter altogether. I mean, would she have pulled me out? I don't know.
Well, I can remember once when we went, I think on one of our summer holidays in a caravan. And we were very poor at that time. My father just couldn't afford to buy another pair of swimming trunks. My mother had 2 bathing costumes. One was white, covered in green mermaids. And she cut the top off and put some elastic round the waist. And my father wore those as swimming trunks.
Who, you?
My mother, she cut the top half of her bathing costume off and threaded some elastic through. And my father wore them as swimming trunks. And everybody was looking at her.
Why did he wear that?
Well, because they didn't have any extra money to buy him another pair. And his old trunks had got holes in them. And my mother owned 2 bathing costumes. One was white with the green mermaid print.
Yeah. Which one did you have, the green mermaid?
Yeah. You see, like the red one, you see, she wasn't all that keen on the green mermaids herself.
I'd rather not swim.
Right, I'm going to go and find my mother and take her to the shops and back.
Ears,
Sorry?
and very sharp teeth.
Sorry?
A reddish brown dog with pointed ears and very sharp teeth. But it was a very nice dog. Called Rick. Ricky, I suppose Rick would be. I don't know. It had a basket under the kitchen table. I remember it very well. and I used to go, and it used to go, it was terribly funny though. I had no fear at all of it. It was one of those things. It bared its teeth at me and so on. You know, it was its basket. Nobody had ever done that to it before. It was rotten.
Yeah.
And then I remember the radio. Turning the radio on, playing with the radio. You know, I was just a little boy. Why shouldn't I? My uncle didn't like it at all, so he pulled the plug out, thinking that I wouldn't know. I put the plug back in again, and he thought that I was very intelligent. But I'm sure I would have seen him doing it. So, that's what you do. So put it back in. There's nothing in that. Any child could do that.
Yeah.
What did you do to the radio?
Well, I used to keep on getting different stations and annoying people. I mean, they were probably turning the volume up and all that. Kids can be very annoying. They don't mean to.
The thing is that people get very attached to things that they buy for themselves as well.
Well, I don't think it was it. You couldn't do much harm to it by twiddling the knobs. But the annoyance when people are trying to talk, I mean, of course they said to stop me from doing that.
What about your French grandfather?
Not much. I didn't see much of him. I just remember a chap with a moustache who didn't really take it. Oh yeah, I remember he smelled of tobacco. He smoked Gauloise.
No, that
A lot of Gauloise, and I remember the smell. He smelled, well, nicotine. I suppose I smelled like that.
We probably all did.
Yeah.
Did Yvette go?
Not on that occasion. There was another occasion. I'm not quite sure. I know Yvette went to France on her own with my mother, and she had a doll and that got broken because there was a Duchess, I think it was Duchess of York, on the boat, and all the passengers would come up on deck when the ship was, waiting to get on the damn plane, get the hell off it, and suddenly several burly sailors came along, and everybody get back, and they're all trying to get back, and the others were, there was, they were going on like that, and Yvette dropped her doll and smashed it in this stuff, and then the Duchess came out down the gangplank and got off. Then everybody was allowed to go.
Oh, it's just dreadful. It hasn't.
Mrs. Simpson, that would have been the ex-Mrs. Simpson, I suppose. Yvette will know which Duchess it was, but I think that was the one.
She was never allowed to be Her Royal Highness,
Oh, I weep for her.
Do you remember the first time you flew?
Flew?
In an aeroplane.
Yes, it was when I went to Iraq, I suppose. No, of course not. I've flown when I went on holiday. I went on an Illusion turbo prop. And one time I went to Switzerland, and I got on a DC-4, and they flew over the mountains. Oh boy, that was terrifying. A bloody pilot went over the mountain within about 100 feet over a range like that. He didn't go. He couldn't go any higher. This damn thing. That was Swiss Air. And I had a woman next to me who spat when she talked, and we were having rainbow ice cream, which put me off my ice cream. That's what they get. It was a very short trip to Milan, from Zurich to Milan or something. Why?
What aeroplane was it?
Well, there was an Illusion that went over. What was the other one? Viscount. I went over on the Viscount. I remember the aeroplanes better than I do anything else. That was nice on the Viscount. We had big seats, loads of leg room, really nice aeroplane, smooth, much better than a jet. It was quite civilised going then. You know, you were a group of people, and you were shepherded out onto the aeroplane by the hostess.
Oh yes.
Not like it is now. You know, find your own bloody way, and you know, boarding pass. It was in the 50s.
That's the first time I flew was in the 50s.
Early 50s or late 50s?
Yeah, the early-ish 50s. I don't remember. I mean, it was spread out over different times. Then I got fed up with that, and I quite fancied the boat and the train, doing it more in a more leisurely fashion. I like the train because you see a lot from the train that you don't see from the air. You don't see anything from the air. And there was the boat until I had that bad crossing from. I regretted that when I was on that bloody thing. Sick, Molly, you get sick. But flying was boring, whereas going on the train was exciting. You met people, you talked to people, and all sorts of things that happened. There's a lot of fun when you get to a station and the gelati men come along, and then they come along with these salami sandwiches, and everybody reaching out and grabbing their food and their whatever it is, a bottle of beer. There was a lot of life on the stations and so on in those days. And then the people that would they were fussy over their coffee. They got enough money, I suppose, and you see them with a little circular thing like that, and a little tripod, and a little kettle on the top. They come along with all this, water in the kettle, and then they light it, methylated spirits. They boil the kettle, they percolate the coffee, and they sit and drink it. I've never seen anything like that. Some of them had methylated spirits, and it was in a lump, like a lump of sugar. They put that in, set lights to that.
Oh yes, I've seen that. I know that.
Well, yes, I can, yes. My father tended to wear either navy blue or black. Sometimes his suits would have a little tiny thin stripe, but he was always black and very smart. And he had a great overcoat he was very proud of. I think that was almost black. Might have been black. Yes, I think it probably was black. It went low down, and you knew when winter was there because that coat came out every winter, and it was all immaculately brushed and so on.
Yes.
He used to posh himself up.
So,
He did have a bowler hat, you know, early on. He had a bowler hat, and then he got a trilby. He was very modern. I think my mother said, you know, you look a bit like Toulouse-Lautrec, so you better get yourself a trilby.
Yeah.
That was the height of fashion then, you know, get a trilby hat.
Well, there was a time when men didn't go out without a hat on.
No, my father never would.
My father always wore a hat
And
when I was young.
yeah.
And my mother.
Yeah, well, I think my father pretty well wore a hat until he died. It was
Yes,
quite
but-
difficult to get him out of a hat. And I used to say, well, you know, people don't wear hats anymore. And he said, well, I do.